and wanted to share some benefits pertaining to masail, muhimma, important matters that many of us may either have doubt concerning them or may be unaware. And from these masail, for example, things that may enter the mouth which may or not be considered muftir. So if a person, for example, was to use toothpaste, is this considered to be a muftir, something that will break a person's fast? As long as the people of knowledge have mentioned that, as long as the actual toothpaste does not enter the jawf, it does not enter the person's throat and then make its way into the stomach, then it's not considered to be a muftir. So a person can use it with caution and care. So using toothpaste is permitted. And similar to this would be using a miswak, using the brush from the arak tree. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Sometimes it comes from the branch of the tree and sometimes it's taken from the root of the tree. And that brush which is used, the twig, is it permitted? They say it's permitted while you're fasting. Walakin they say, however, the people of knowledge, that if the branch is wet and it's emitting some fluid, then you have to be wary not to swallow that fluid, because swallowing that fluid is a muftir. So if you're to brush your teeth during your fast, it's permitted using that twig. Walakin you have to be careful if the twig is still moist. Be cautious not to swallow those fluids that emanate from the twig or the brush. Jade. If it's dry, it's not producing any fluids, then there's no harm in this. A person can brush his teeth using that anytime during the day. And some of the fuqaha, the scholars of fiqh, they have said if it's later on into the day, after zawal, after dhuhr, you can use the brush, but before dhuhr you cannot use it. There is no evidence that indicates this. So a person is permitted to use the brush at any time. And in fact, it's something which is pleasing to Allah Azza wa Jalla. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Lawla an ashuq ala ummati la amartuhum bis-siwak inda kulli salah." If I did not fear the burden of my nation, I would have ordered them to brush their teeth with every prayer. Another wording of the hadith, which is collected in the Sunan, inda kulli wudu, with every wudu, I would have ordered them to use the miswak. So using the miswak or using the toothpaste, we've understood that it's permitted. However, there are things to be cautious of. From these points, there's also a person, maybe a child with reflux, where they have the fluids that return back up from their stomach. Is this considered to be a muftir? They have mentioned, in Arabic, first of all, that's referred to as qalas. If you're to look for the masala, it's referred to as qalas, where the person, it's almost as if some vomit is coming up, however the vomit is only a small amount. Is it permitted for the person to swallow it? They have mentioned, the people of knowledge, that there are two halat, two states. If a person is able to repel that fluid from going back into his stomach, then it's an obligation for him to expel it. So I had the reflux, the fluid came up. If I'm able to expel it, it's an obligation to expel it. I'm not permitted to swallow it. And if I intentionally swallow that fluid, then my fast will be broken. Jade? So if a person is child with reflux, it's important to know these masail. Similar to the reflux is the qay, the vomit, which is even worse. If a person is to vomit, will it break his fast? It will not break his fast if the person was to vomit. There is a hadith that that the person, if he intentionally causes himself to vomit, that his fast will be invalid, it will be void. وَلَكِنْ هَذَا حَدِيثٌ ضَعِيفٌ. It's a weak hadith, as the people of knowledge mention. However, a person should avoid causing himself to become sick. Sometimes maybe this may happen due to a reason or another, and it causes the person to jeopardize his fast. Though it's not to say it's clearly broken, but it may lead to parts of that vomit returning back into his stomach. And this would be something that nullifies the fast. It would be something that nullifies the fast. So the reflux we've discussed. Another matter of importance is tasting food. For the women who may be in their houses preparing the iftar, is it permitted for them to taste food? The people of knowledge have mentioned, if they taste the food, again with the condition that they taste it for a need, they want to check if it's salty, too salty, not enough salt, and then they spit out what they've tasted, That's permitted because there's a haja, there's a need for it. However, to taste the food and swallow it, this is a muftir. It will break the fast. And what's similar to this is as well, if a person was to run a shop, maybe have a grocery shop or the likes, then a customer comes and they want to taste from the fruits or the produce that you have. Is it permitted for you to allow them to taste? Now, if he's a Muslim, it's clear, but now we live in the lands of the disbelievers. Is it permitted for you, the disbeliever comes and says, can I taste this? Are you allowed to permit them to taste it or no? Now this masala comes into another matter which is discussed in usul al-fiqh, which is هل الكفار مخاطبون بفروع الشريعة? Are the disbelievers, are they addressed with the subsidiary matters or the matters of ibadat, matters of worship from the religion? Are they also addressed with it? So in the sense that if it's not permitted for us to eat during the daylight hours of Ramadan, are they permitted to eat? A number of ulama, they have discussed this matter, and the correct stance inshallah is the view of the Shafi'iyah. They have said that they are mukhatabun. The disbelievers are also addressed with the same text that we are addressed with. So if we're not permitted to eat during the month of Ramadan, they are also not permitted to eat during the month of Ramadan. And if you permit them to eat, then this becomes a ta'awun al-ithmi al-udwan. If it's in your hands, if you permit them to eat, then in essence you are cooperating with them in sin. So where does this leave us? There are two matters I want to discuss briefly. First of all, what does it mean when we're saying that they're mukhatabun bi furu' al-sharia, that they're being addressed with the actions of worship in the sharia, the kuffar are also addressed? As a person may argue that, how are they addressed with matters of the sharia, and if they were to fast, it would not be accepted. If they were to pray with us, it would not be accepted. The ulama, they have mentioned what's being intended by them being addressed with furu' al-sharia is that they are going to be punished a double punishment. They're going to be punished for disbelief, and they're going to be punished for not fasting. They're going to be punished for not praying. They're going to be punished for not giving the zakah. We understood this is what's intended by them being addressed with the furu' of the sharia. So if a disbeliever, theoretically speaking, he was a disbeliever who prayed some salawat, then his punishment concerning those salawat, if he was doing it for Allah, they would be less than a person who did not pray entirely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sake. We've understood that masala? This is what's being intended by them being addressed with the furu' of the sharia. So when the matter comes into your hand, you're operating a shop or a business, then it's a must for you to take that stance and say, sorry, we're not permitted in the daylight hours of Ramadan to eat or to assist in others in eating. And you make your stance clear as a believer. And know that your Awzaa'i, your provisions, they're with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah Azza wa Jal, He's the one who will provide for you. You don't have to worry about anything. At times you may find that we become weak at times, and we feel as if maybe they're going to consider you to be mutashaddid, you're going to be considered extreme. Walakin, extremism is to order someone or to prohibit them from something Allah and His Messenger did not order them to do or prohibit them from. This is what extremism is. Someone commanding you, obliging upon you to do something Allah and His Messenger did not oblige, then this is ghulu, this is extremism. Or prohibiting you from something that Allah and His Messenger did not prohibit from, then this is ghulu, this is extremism. Walakin you holding on to the sharia of Allah Azza wa Jalla and ordering them with good and prohibiting them from evil, then this is khair. You're actually doing good for yourself and doing good for others. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He mentions, مَا سَلَكَكُمْ فِي سَقَرْ قَالُوا لَمْ نَكُ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ وَلَمْ نَكُ نُطْعِمُ الْمِسْكِينَ وَكُنَّا نَخُوضُ مَعَ الْخَائِضِينَ وَكُنَّا نُكَذِّبُ بِيَوْمِ الدِّينِ حَتَّى أَتَانَا الْيَقِينَ. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He mentions that when the disbelievers are asked, مَا سَلَكَكُمْ فِي السَّقَرْ, what caused you to enter the hellfire? This is, saqar is from the names of the hellfire. They will say, we never used to pray. وَلَمْ نَكُ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ وَلَمْ نَكُ نُطْعِمُ الْمِسْكِينَ, and we never used to give those who are needy food. And we used to deny the Day of Judgment. So Allah Azza wa Jalla, He lists a number of points. They're being punished for not praying. They're being punished for denial of the Day of Judgment. They're being punished for not giving those who are needy. All of these are a number of points that ended them into the hellfire and the punishment of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And this is from the evidences that the people of knowledge use to show that the disbeliever, he's going to get a double punishment for the additional sins that they commit, on top of them being disbelievers in Allah and His Messenger in the last day. So these were a number of points that I wanted to share concerning the things that may enter the body or exit the body that are not considered to be muftirat, or they may be considered to be muftirat, things that break your fast or do not break your fast. Finally, I'll conclude with the mas'ala of the hijamah. If a person was to have the hijamah done, the cupping, while they're fasting, will this break the fast? The correct stance among the people of knowledge is that it will not break the fast. And there's a hadith in Ibn Abbas في الصحيح. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu reports from the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام أنه احتجم وهو صائم, that he had hijamah done while he was fasting. And this hadith is in Sahih al-Bukhari. Now the scholars have differed with regard to the authenticity of the hadith. Some have said that it has a hidden flaw. ولكن al-Hafid bin Hajar, he defends the hadith and he says that rather it is an authentic hadith, and the criticism against the hadith is not a valid criticism. So if the Prophet ﷺ did a hijamah while he was fasting and he didn't break his fast, then to have hijamah done is not something that will break your fast. ولكن they say قد يكون ذريعة, it may lead a person to break his fast. People are different. So when the blood is removed from the body, a person may feel weak and not able to function unless they have something to eat. So if this is your case, then do not do so. However, in essence, we're just talking about if a person was to have the hijamah done, then it would not break his fast. Inshallah, we'll conclude with what we've heard. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to benefit us by what was mentioned. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.